Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground is brought to you by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Production funding for Common Ground is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. Hi, and welcome to this week's edition of Common Ground. I'm your host, Ashley Hall. Common Ground is a new weekly series that highlights northern and central Minnesota culture. We'll explore the unique people, places, and events that are an important part of our region. Each week, Common Ground videographers, editors, and myself will take viewers on a journey of exploration into the worlds of art, history, and culture. This week, we'll hear about a collaboration between two Bemidji artists as they've been creating art together for more than 20 years. We'll also hear from another Bemidji artist who describes the process of using egg tempera in his paintings. And you can watch a production take form in Akeley.
I had a remarkable teacher when I was in high school, and I had been a young person who drew and did art, but this teacher, her name was Tiny Mike, a Finnish woman who had an excellent art education, kind of awoke in me something deeper. And from that point on, from the time I was in her class, I just gave myself to art. That was what I knew I was going to do. There wasn't any question in my mind that that's what I would be. And so when I graduated high school and went to college, that was my major. And I actually came over here to Bemidji. It was a pretty small school at that time, and the art department was not, the best in the world. But I was able to do art and continue to do what I wanted to do. And I thank my teacher, Tiny Mike, who is no longer living, but I had the opportunity to say thank you to her later for what she did for me when I was in high school and awakening that we both were making art. And Don's direction was wood, and I was still doing paintings and prints. And it took quite a long time before we discovered that we could actually make art together and do collaborations. That happened, it sort of happened all of a sudden. And just by one point, picking up some pieces of debris on the shore of Lake Superior, and then going back to the studio and putting some of those pieces into a box. In fact, it's on the wall right there. Putting those pieces in the box, we sort of looked at it and thought, my gosh, we can actually do art where it's both of our work together and they harmonize. They have a harmony about them. And from that point on, then we did collaborations, and we have kept that original piece. It's sort of the seed piece that happened, and as a result of all the pieces that came after that. We lived in the Twin Cities for 20 years, exhibited, and our work is in collections all over the Twin Cities and elsewhere. And eventually they evolved. These pieces evolved into what we are doing right now. That's collage with paper and wood, mostly peeled wood, that Don gathers and put together in a way that harmonizes and makes a statement as a unit. Sometimes he starts and he'll have put the sticks in a certain pattern and maybe lay a board on it or a form. And then I respond by starting my collage part of it. Sometimes I start it. It isn't ever a thing where one of us takes the entire lead on it. It really truly is a collaboration because we think together and we talk about it together. We'll look at them and make a decision about where the shape is going to be placed on the sticks, how tall they're going to be, if they're going to be two layers, like a shorter layer and then a longer layer. All of these things we discuss, and it happens. There are even times, and it just happened recently, where we'll have something all together. We've got the collage all on it, the sticks. It's all in a finished state, and we both look at it and say, it's not working. There's something wrong here. Where is the problem? And we talk it through and figure out. In that case, in this one I'm talking about, it was simply that I had to take my entire collage off of it and redo them because of the coloration was wrong and the forms were wrong. So I just redid it and it ended up right. What we're trying to do is make a beautiful object where the forms from nature and then what I do with the collage harmonize together and make a thing of beauty. And if people have these in their home, what I would hope that it produces is a sense of calm and a feeling of one with nature. And that when they go into the woods, when they look at nature, maybe they think of the artwork, and it helps them even to see lines and forms that they had never seen before. So that's as far as I want it to go. We don't have, it's not a kind of art that makes a big statement like that. Some of my work, some of the work that I do when we do our collaboration is I will work with brush and paint and then add collage to it. Sometimes the entire form is done with collage, and just with paper, drawing and paper. And I will do these in a series where there will be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 forms like this, all lined up on a piece of wood that has an interesting color. I often will mount them on a color that is harmonious with what is going on in the middle. And then, as I commented before, Don will look at it and think about how the wood will go. It just depends on how it moves us, how we think it should be. We generally agree. Otherwise, we wouldn't be making art together. You know, he would have gone his own direction with his woodwork, and I would have gone my direction with painting. That's a history of about 20 years that we have been doing collaborations. And they are all over the United States and in Europe. There are, I'm going to have to say, I would say there are hundreds of them around the United States and various places.
This is a boot bench that I just finished for a woman over in Grand Forks. And this is a bed that I'm making, and I'll just show you what it's going to be like. See, this goes in here, like that, and then this other board down here, and that makes the bed head. And then it'll have this on the top, and it'll be a nice bed. They're made very strong. But my furniture is crude. It's not real finished stuff. But people like it that way, and that's the way I like it too. It's sort of like bringing the woods into your home in a piece of art.
I'm glad to talk about this particular piece because it's new. We just finished it a short time ago, and it kind of embodies the very essence of what we're trying to accomplish at this time. And the title of this piece is 5 Landscapes and Full Moon, so that it has this idea of focusing on nature and the parts of it all coming together as a whole, a harmonious whole. The peeled wood is aspen. The collage parts of it are all paper, every bit of it, paint and India ink. We are careful and we feel it's very important to use archival materials. The paper I use is the very best paper you can get, and we use acrylic paint, India ink, and Don's aspen wood that he peels, after it has aged, is just as hard as a rock. It just gets so hard. And I have seen pieces of ours from 20 years ago made with this same material that is absolutely the same color, just perfect, not a mark, not a thing. It just holds beautifully. And I feel that this will last way into the future. That's an important factor to us, that it has longevity connected with it. So this is a new work from our series of collaborations. We both like the woods. We both go in the summer, we walk, into the woods. And the patterns and growth of this part of the country, it's in us from earliest days, because we're both Minnesotans and grew up in this area. And we both were very much a part of nature and the woods and the lakes and the rocks and all the parts of nature that we love. And it always has been, it's my main theme, and I believe Don's main theme has been that of the natural world.
My name is Marley Kaul. I work with egg tempera. I work with acrylic, sometimes work with casein or gouache as well. Egg tempera came about very early in our culture, in our society, and it was introduced in Egypt, and it was used in Grecian times, and made its appearance for me in early Christian art. And when I studied icons, I also had to study egg tempera. It's a very demanding process. It takes a lot of discipline. It's relatively slow, and I can tell you how traditionally it was started and dealt with. Egg tempera is a tempered media using egg yolk and water. If you've ever left egg on a plate for any length of time, you realize that it becomes impossible to remove from the plate. It's a very strong adhesive. And so early artists would work with dry pigment, the yolk of an egg. When I was teaching at Bemidji State University, students would come to my advanced painting class after studying art history and would ask me about egg tempera, because that was a media that they were discussing in the class, and asked me detailed information about it, which I tried to answer, which then required that I do more research into egg tempera, and then finally demonstrated it, and we had a class in egg tempera. And a number of students have carried on with it. It's a very demanding process. It takes a lot of discipline. It's relatively slow, and I can tell you how traditionally it was started and dealt with. The artist would initially lay the drawing on a hard panel, and the panels in early days were made of wood, and that wood was primarily in Italy was popple or poplar, and I use wood panels as well, and mine are made from birch. My panels are made out of a birch veneer, and they have basswood cradles, so they're very light and they don't warp. The next step is to apply a ground to that surface, and traditionally it's been called gesso, which is a white pigment with an adhesive, early days rabbit skin glue, to cover the surface. And then it required that you sand this surface afterwards so that it became very smooth. And this particular panel has 6 coats of gesso on it, sanded between each one to get a nice surface, almost like eggshell itself. It's very akin to gardening, where you go out and process the soil. You rototill it, you dig it up, you prepare the soil, you prepare the bed in order to do the next step, which is the planting. So after the bed or the surface is prepared with gesso, the drawing is laid on. And primarily I lay the drawing on with pencil because I can erase. And when I'm satisfied with the composition and the detail, that drawing then is inked with an India ink. India ink, when dry, becomes insoluble, so that I can lay a watercolor wash over the top. Now this painting has some washes started on it. Initially it was a off-white panel, and after the drawing was applied and inked in, I then pulled over this rather orange looking color to give it a tone throughout. It's maybe akin to giving a choir a pitch, and from there they can move up and down from that pitch. That's what I'm going to do next. I'm going to move up by adding lightness in value, and I'm going to go down by adding darkness. I'm starting to put in tones that will darken some of these shadows just a bit. You notice that the ink line is still showing through. This paint will dry nice and flat. Sometimes people who haven't done paintings very much will question my use of green. But if you look at shadows, you find color in shadows. Shadows are not just some kind of gray or black non-color. Colors like green are found in shadows, cool colors, and warm colors sometimes in shadows, so that they take on redness, perhaps. I'm not going to be too fussy here right now because I will be overpainting on top of this with more tone, more color. I could probably take a garden hose to this and it would not come off. It becomes very stable. So this process, as you can see, is relatively slow. Now, I'm using a very small brush here, and at this initial stage, I probably would use a larger watercolor brush. But I just wanted to show you that the artist hatches. This is called hatching. Cross-hatching is to go back over the top in this direction. You can look at the brush stroke. You can study the brush stroke. You can study the surface. See how that builds up? Slow and methodical. It's funny, people look at my painting and say, how can you spend all that time on the painting? Well, it becomes like a craft. It's like making kitchen cabinets. You have to saw it properly, you have to sand it, you have to take great care with it. I have 3 paintings that were exhibited at the Bemidji Art Center. And they're paintings that were prompted by a visit on my own property. After my brother passed away and we had visited the family and all the events were done, we came home and decided we needed to go for a walk. So my wife and I went to a spot on our property that we walk in a great deal, up in the wooded area. And obviously there had been a windstorm while we were gone. And there were pieces of birch scattered all over the ground, like someone had violently got in there and crosswinds and so forth. Nothing was laying in any kind of particular order. And the snow had melted and had formed vernal ponds. And so logs were laying in the water and out of the water, and it was chaos. And it was totally quiet. It was late in the afternoon, the first visit. And I said, I don't think we should be here. I felt like I was an intruder in my own property. And we left. And it haunted me. Those images haunted me. And I went back the next day and I did some sketches. And then I realized I needed to record it another way, so I took digital photographs of it. And then I came home and just looked at those before I even thought about making paintings out of them. They seemed to be less about paintings than just an experience. But as I looked at them, I started to feel differently about it. And now the poet side of me is taking over, and I began to see things and imagine things that may or not have been there, and I started making associations. And I did the center one. I think I blocked that in first on a canvas, and I liked some of the things that were happening, and so then I started a second and a third. I like them together. I like the fact that they fit together and become a singular unit, and I hope I don't have to break them up in any way. Eventually they hang separately, but they're all one. I visited the site several times then at different times of the day, and I found that it changed according to the light. I think one of these was based on early morning and another was based on late afternoon. And so I got shadows and light that I had not expected. And then I began to paint them and block them in, and the more I painted them, the more they took on other characteristics. And so I felt the liberty to make the sky green as opposed to, as we all think of, as blue. They became incredible challenges to try to complete. My emotions worked on me, and then after a while I sort of forgot about the first trip. But I never forgot about the fact of how I felt when I saw it. And I tried to get that into the paintings.
Well, Minnesota Folklore Theater was formed last year here at the Akeley Regional Community Center, which is the old Akeley School. We are housed here in the old Akeley Civic Auditorium, which was built in 1937. One of the few remaining WPA auditoriums in the state. Minnesota Folklore Theater has a mission of providing quality family entertainment, community-based stories and about Minnesota, or plays and musicals that have made history in the state of Minnesota. Down the road, we're going to be doing Paul Bunyan the Musical, which is written by Dan Eiler out of New York. It's never been produced in the state, but we're going to try and make that a key show for our summer stock repertory. And we are also working on a rewrite of a show I did last summer called Hubbard Prairie Radio Hour, which is a radio musical set in Hubbard Prairie here in Hubbard County. Well, it's a 1940s radio musical where three women are running the radio station when their husbands have been called off to war. And it's Christmas time. And they're just telling stories about families in the Northwoods here, local merchants, and it's got a few musical numbers and some good stories. I've been involved in the arts since 1963. I was a high school intern at the Guthrie Theater. And over the years, I've been involved in design aspects of theater, and taught costume design down at the University of Central Florida for 5 years. Worked for Burt Reynolds and Dolly Parton in Florida. Have done a number of television and Broadway shows, and been involved almost 40 years.
Thousands of years earlier, a shepherd boy was with his father, tending their herd. There was a star in the sky, and they saw three men walking with camels. The shepherd boy said, "Father, who's that man in the robe?" The father said, That's the wise men follow the star.
Nights like tonight, opening night, this is the fulfilling part because we're now transferring it over to the audience. That's the most exciting part, is when the audience starts coming in. The process before that is exciting in itself, but I feel opening nights and when we give ownership to the audience is the most important part. The audience it's all key. The audience is the reason we're here. We did a show here this fall, and I used 6 local children who have never acted before. And when the audience saw what they could do, that was really the most fulfilling, you know, as far as in relation to this theater. And I'm trying to relate that to other issues that I've in the past. But I think when you can make change for people, students, actors, and audiences, that's the most fulfilling.
We hope you enjoyed tonight's show, and we look forward to seeing you next week right here on Common Ground. If you have a segment idea for Common Ground, please contact us at legacy@lptv.org or call us at 218-333-3022. Individual segments or copies of Common Ground, please call 218-333-3020. Production funding for Common Ground is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund. If you enjoyed this segment of Lakeland Public Television's Common Ground, consider making a contribution at lptv.org.